Thank you, everyone, for joining today. My name is Coralie Carlson. I'm the social media coordinator here at the Graduate Center, and presenting with me today is Shantae.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shantae Booker. I basically manage the CUNY ASRC's digital presence of their social media and web.
Great. Thank you. And just for those who are now joining us, we are recording this presentation for those who can't join a live session. Um, the goal is to keep this to a nice 30-minute presentation, be respectful of your schedules, and then we'll turn off the recording and we'll take your questions. But feel free to put questions in the chat so that you don't forget them as we're going along, and we'll just go through them all afterwards. Okay? All right. So we're all here today to learn about Bluesky. And so let's first take a look at why we're moving to Bluesky. Bluesky is a relatively new social platform that has really expanded in popularity after the election. It has about 26 million users now, about 3.5 million daily new users. Just in November alone, there were nearly 8 million downloads, but it's a relatively small company. It's a pretty new company and it only has about 20 employees. So I mention that because I think it's important to remember that, it's just new, it's developing, they're adding new functions, um, and things are not set in stone. They're a very flexible platform. Um, it was actually started as a research product of Twitter, started by Twitter, the company. And then after Elon Musk bought Twitter, it was spun off, and now it's a competitor to X, as it's known now. Jack Dorsey, who was the founder of Twitter, was initially on the board of directors for Bluesky, but he left in March. Um, so why are we moving to Bluesky? To be honest, there's a really practical reason, and that is many of the scholars in our community have started accounts on Bluesky, and we're finding it's a better way to reach the real people that we want to reach. Um, there have been some algorithmic changes on Twitter and Facebook that make it difficult to reach our audience, even though we have accounts there. The algorithms just don't show our posts to the people who are on those platforms that we want to reach. Um, for instance, on Twitter, the school has about 10,000 followers, whereas on Bluesky, we only have about 800 followers. But we get more engagement with our posts on Bluesky because more real people are seeing our posts. And so that makes it really valuable for us. This training is intended both for people who are managing departmental accounts. Like, for instance, if you manage, the history department account, social media accounts, or for a center or institute, and also for people who are just interested in starting their own accounts, and would like some background information, a little how to get started. I think it's always important when you're considering what social platform to use, to do just a personal audit first. Um, think about what sort of content you have to share, and what sort of content you want to share. Is it visual? Is it a video? Is it mostly text and links to articles? Um, and then think about what sort of platforms lend themselves to sharing that kind of content. So if you are, a scholar in art history and you have a lot of visual content, well, Instagram allows for sharing of photos very easily and could be really effective for you. Um, but if you are, a scholar that does not have much visual content, it's going to be really difficult to be effective on a visual platform like Instagram. Um, you also have to think about where is the audience that you want to reach, and that is what we are finding at the Graduate Center, that the audience we want to reach is on Blue Sky now. And then also just think how often you can realistically post. We're all pulled in a lot of directions. We all have a lot of demands and responsibilities. Um, so realistically, can you post weekly? Do you have the staff or the personal time to maintain an account? I don't think there's a lot of value to starting an account if it's not going to be active. So think about this, and then you can decide which platforms are best for you. In many ways, Blue Sky has the same functionalities as Twitter. Um,
Oh, just before you move on to the next slide, just wanted to jump back to something that Coralie said about, more real people seeing your posts and interacting with it. And that's why like the engagement has been higher over there. Also, more people who actually want to see your content, people who are interested in like your content and your topics, are like are able to find your content easier and just have been interacting with it more due to like the algorithms that we'll cover in a few. Just wanted to add that little tidbit.
thank you. Um, yes, so we find that Blue Sky has a very similar look and feel to Twitter or X. Um, the functionality, the buttons are very, very similar. There's a few differences, different names. So it's not called tweeting, it's called skeeting. You never have to use that word if you don't want to. I think it's a bit like derided, but that is the official word for it. Um, you can include photos and videos. The video is a relatively new feature on Blue Sky. And so at this point, the videos have to be either like a landscape, horizontal, or square. It can't do the vertical videos that we have on TikTok. You can't schedule posts yet, which is very difficult when you're managing an account for a department or an institute. So you have to do everything in real time. And also, you don't get any metrics back. So you don't get information about like how many impressions your post got. It might be unlikely that you were looking at that level of detail anyway, but you do get to see what everyone can see, how many likes and how many reposts you got. Um, it does have some different algorithmic options, which we'll go over on the next slide, which I think users are appreciating. The character limit for a post is 300 characters. That's about the same as a tweet. Um, Hashtags are not really used that much, so I would just wouldn't worry about putting them on my posts. Um, and Shante, did you want to explain about the servers?
Yeah, so from what I understand, okay, so when you sign up for Blue Sky, you can basically you have the option to sign up with your own or on your own server. And basically my little understanding of servers is it just allows you to have more control over your data. So if you don't want to use Blue Sky's data, you can select to like use your not data server. You can select to use your own server. But if you don't want to worry about that, you don't have to change anything when you sign up for your account. It'll automatically um, pop up on the Blue Sky server. So yeah.
Great, thank you. And yeah, I think that's kind of a theme I see on Blue Sky where for people who really care about some of these details, there are options to keep things more private, or to use like different viewing options. But there's also just like a standard basic, which is okay to get started, or if it's not a concern of yours. Okay.
Mhm. Also, going back to the photos and videos, so I've noticed that Blue Sky does populate. So like when when you have a link and if that link has an image attached to it, it does populate the image more consistently than X has been, at least ever since, it's been under new management. So that's also something to note because that can be because sometimes you don't want to like look for an image or you don't have an image. And if the link already has one, it's nice and easy to just pop it in. And it also prevents there from being another barrier to, the user or audience member getting to your content that you want them to view. So that's something to know as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the posts look really nice when you're just like using a link to an article. It displays really nicely without you having to do any additional workarounds.
Hmm.
So you may have heard about the algorithms being different on Blue Sky. And they are. You have some different options. You can see on the screenshot here that there is a following tab, and under that tab, you will just see posts from the people that you follow in the order that they have posted them. Okay? So that's kind of like seeing the posts of the people you follow without an algorithm. Now, you may find that if you're not following a lot of people, or if one of the people that you're following um, uses is very proficient and just posts a lot, that your feed will be like overcome by one or two accounts until you kind of are following a critical mass of accounts. Um, but there's also the other options, like you can click over to that Discover tab, and then that uses an algorithm to surface and show you posts that you're of accounts that you're not following, but that might be interesting. And then there's other tabs that are topic based. So as you start your accounts, I would encourage you to follow some different tabs that are of interest to you, whether it be science or your area of study. There's ones for like Book Sky and Cat Pics, Black Sky. You can also think of these feeds as kind of a replacement for hashtag searches. So if you were like doing a search for biology, instead of doing that, you could just follow one of these feeds on biology. Do you have anything to add, Shante?
Yeah, so another thing that's pretty exciting is so you know how like kind of like Coralie mentioned a few minutes ago how you'll have people, your feed will be populated with like one to two people because maybe they post like 20 times a day. And so but you have other followers that you want to hear from. So they actually do have a feed where it's called Quiet Posters where uh you can subscribe to the Quiet Posters feed and it'll show you all of the posts from the people who you want to hear from, but maybe they only post like two times a week or like once a month or something like that. So that's another pretty cool thing. So like everyone pretty much can be seen on or has the opportunity to be seen on here. So that's an exciting thing too.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool feature. Um, so many of you are here because you want to leave behind your Twitter account and migrate over to Blue Sky. So just a few notes on best practices for that. I do not recommend that you actually delete your account on Twitter. And that is because someone else can take your handle and then they could like impersonate you, right? Or your department or whatever it is. So just kind of mothball your account, leave it up, but don't use it anymore. And you can pin a post at the top or change the bio on your account to tell people that, this account isn't active, but you can find me on these other platforms or maybe an email address to your center or something like that. So that people who are looking for you know where to find you. You can also download your archive on Twitter or X. I'm not sure if you're ever going to do anything with that, but if it's of interest to you, you certainly can. And then you would have like a record on a zip file somewhere on your computer, should you ever want to go back and look at it. Okay, Shante, do you want to take
So
it from here?
yes. Okay, so getting started, you of course want to download the app and then you want to make sure to use an email address that others in your apartment can access. This is very important, as well as with the third one. So I'll go over that one before I go into why it's important. So you want to also make sure to use your username and password in a place that your manager and admin can access. So these two are very important and just prevent situations from or uncomfortable situations from happening where, let's say the person who normally manages your account uh, no longer, let's say the person who normally manages your account no longer works for you. Maybe they're a temporary employee and So it basically just prevents you from having uncomfortable situations where you no longer have access to the account, if they leave, or even if, they're just out for the day and you need to update the account. So, oh, and I would suggest having at least two people have the passwords for sure, for sure. So you want the person who normally manage the account to have it, and then you also want someone who is a permanent fixture at the office to have it as well. So, Corley, I know you had mentioned to me that there are specific names. I don't know if you want to say those
Right.
title names or not.
Right, thank you. So this
No
this
problem.
guidance is specifically for accounts for that your department or your center or your institute. If you run if you're managing an account for a PhD or a master's department, make sure that your EO and your APO also have the access to the username, password, and access to the email address that you are using.
Thank you, Corley.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. And then so getting started, you have to, or it is strongly suggested that you have a profile pic and a background pic just for branding purposes, so for you to not seem like a spam account if you're existing there. So we want to remind you and encourage you to utilize the comms department for this. We do provide branding for your accounts, and right here on the slide are examples of those branding. So the profile pic as well as the background pic. So, and we will give you, details on how to do that towards the end
Right.
of the slide. Oh, go
Actually,
ahead.
the I have a handout. I will put it again in the chat at the end. Um,
Mhm.
and there are links to the examples of what the template looks like and a link to the form to request them. And Alex, I believe, is on this call. He is the designer in our department who will do this. He's fantastic. And we use a template, so they'll all kind of look like this. But he can turn them around pretty quickly. So thank you in advance, Alex, for all your great work here. But yeah, they look very nice, and that way you'll look on brand.
Mhm. Thank you. Okay, so your handles can have up to 18 characters and they all automatically populate with the blue sky social at the end. And so the beginning of your handle, you want to make sure that it is your department name. So if you're history, you want it to be history, and then you want to follow that immediately with, GC CUNY. Or if you are at the ASRC, you would put, in place of history, you would put your initiative. And then after your initiative, you would put ASRC GC, just to make sure we have, our affiliation in there. And then for the display name, you can have up to 64 characters. And here is your opportunity to put your full name, the full name of your department. So with the ASRC is a pretty good example because we have a really long name. And, we would never be able to fit that in our handle. So we definitely, shorten it. But here we put our name out fully how we want people to refer to us. So the Advanced Science Research Center at the CUNY Graduate Center in there. And then your description, you want to make sure to include your affiliation with the Graduate Center or the Graduate Center and the ASRC. And then here you want to take your opportunity to be creative and fun and, show people like why they should be interested, or, give them a fun fact about the department or initiative that you're in. Like this is your moment to, like, it's kind of like an elevator pitch, I guess, in a sense. Like, why should people want to subscribe to your or follow your account? And so if you're an individual, the way that this could change for you is if you don't want to use your name as your handle, you would use your area of study. So like if I study leaping cats, then maybe my handle would be, leaping cats, or SB for Shante Booker, leaping cats. That way I'm kind of like giving people a sense of like what I'm about, or, that's a pretty like weird, like you might not know what she's about with the leaping cats, but it's definitely an eye catcher. Like it's something that'll intrigue people and make them want to see what is this leaping cats about. So that would be your area to do that, or how you would handle that for an individual. Next slide, please.
I'll just add that
Oh, go ahead.
when people are discovering your account and deciding whether to follow you, this is the information that they see right off the bat. So if I see that someone is, a PhD student at the graduate center, I'm like, oh, well, I'll just automatically follow them because I want to know what they're saying, you know? But if they didn't include that detail, I don't know, like, if there's any reason, like, if I have any connection to them or not. So I probably won't follow them, you know? So just like a few of these little details are like a signal to people that have these things in common with you that they will want to follow you.
Mhm. And also I'm pretty sure like we're still learning how Blue Sky like functions and like pulls information, but I'm also pretty sure that adding your affiliations, they Blue Sky picks up on keywords like in like every aspect of your profile. So they'll most likely are showing you automatically to people that also have like GC CUNY in their bio as well too, or handle. So
Mhm.
that's another. Okay, so finding your community. So Blue Sky has a pretty like easy and I would say fun way of like helping you to find your community or communities. So you can use starter packs, and starter packs are basically they're basically lists or like groups, ways for you to like group people by interest, basically. The GC has one. We have you'll be able to like go onto the GC's profile, click on starter packs, and then you'll see the starter packs. And it's basically all of GC's like departmental accounts. And then you have Matt Gold also has ones for CUNY people in general. Is that correct, Coralie? CUNY
That's
people in
right. So
general?
he's gathered like scholars, so
Okay.
faculty, students, alums that are affiliated with CUNY. So yeah.
And then you can just, search for other interests. Like let's say if you're interested in I don't know, rocks or something like that, you'll be able to go to the search in Blue Sky and search for those different lists. And oh, thank you, Ian, for uh putting it in the chat box. Um, but yeah, so you can basically find who there are lists for whatever you're interested in. And there, Corley, did you have something? Oh, I
Um,
thought you were about to say something.
no, I'm also just re-putting the handout in the chat. So that has links to those two starter packs that we mentioned. The Graduate Centers one, which has the different like official accounts of departments and other schools and things like that. And then Matt Gold has the one to Matt Gold's, which is for people.
Mhm. Um, and so next we have another way with finding your community is using Sky Follow Bridge, which is basically a Chrome extension that allows you to that helps you find your followers on X who have migrated to Blue Sky. Now, the ASRC hasn't utilized this yet, and I don't believe the GC has utilized it yet as well. So we haven't like tested it out yet, but we have heard that it has good reviews and people have had success with it. Um, Another way to help you find your community is following people back. So like if someone follows you, you follow them back, and doing that will help Blue Sky's algorithms or one of the algorithms understand like, oh, okay, so they're following people, like this. People they're following scientists or whoever you are following. That helps teach the algorithm what you're interested, or is a way to teach what you're interested. And then you also want to remember quality over quantity when it comes to your posts. So you can post like 50 times a day, but if people aren't getting any value out of them, they might not follow you or they might not engage with you. They might even like ignore you because like they're constantly seeing you and it's like, oh, they don't post about anything. So let me just, ignore them. So yeah, you just want to make sure you are posting quality content, and quality content can be like, the information you're giving, good information, useful information, or you are providing some sort of entertainment, like you're funny, and people have to be getting something out of your content to want to, stay and stick around and engage. Excuse me. And then last, be patient because it takes time to build a following. This is new. We're all new at Blue Sky and we're all just figuring it out. And, we're all slowly trickling in and and finding each other. So it's just going to take time to build back up your following or to just build a following.
Yeah, and I'll just add that, it does take time. And it can be a little bit disappointing if you build a big following on another platform and you feel like have to start over. But it's actually a great opportunity to get in kind of at the beginning of a social network. You're on the ground floor here. Everyone's kind of starting at the same place, and you have a chance to like start, be active on the platform and build a big follow, be one of the initial people to build a big following. Like the initial people who were on Twitter back in the day, they built big followings just because they were one of the first ones out there, and now you can be one of the first ones out there. So it's actually it takes time, but it is a great opportunity too.
Yeah, and because it's so new, like it's easier. I mean, I would say like it's probably it's e a little easier to like build a following now because like everyone is just new and open to whatever. And so yeah, it's a great way to just kind of explore and put yourself out there. And even start like building yourself as like a thought leader if that's something you're interested in doing. And then, okay, so for security, you can utilize their two-factor authentication. You basically go to your profile, and then go to, I believe it's called like privacy and security. And then right up at the top, there is a two-factor authentication. And it's basically the same as every other one you use where Corley, let me know if I got this wrong, but you can basically do the code like where they'll email you a code or you'll be prompted to like when you log in, you'll be prompted to uh put in a code that they sent to your email. And there's probably another connection to like the app, but that can be complicated. The app is like where you'll I can't remember the name of like a specific app, but go ahead, Corley.
Yeah, you can also use an authentication app,
Yeah, that's what it's called.
which if for your personal accounts, I strongly recommend. It's difficult to share that between if you have multiple people managing like a department account. So that gets a little bit tricky. But definitely if you're starting just, Corley's Blue Sky account, I'll use the authentication app.
Thanks. And then you also want to make sure you use a strong password. I'm sure, we're all like somewhat pros at like building or creating strong passwords or constantly being prompted to create a strong password that includes a number, a character. So make sure you're using a strong password. You do want to change your passwords regularly, especially when personnel leaves, because you never know what could happen. So maybe you can change it every time you're prompted to change, like, or every like 6 months or every year or something like that at least. So nothing too much. You don't have to do it every month. Um, oh, so you can also, accounts can be blocked or muted. You can utilize moderation lists for that. So you can like individually go ahead and like mute and block an account. But let's say you are really tired of hearing people talk about, NFTs or something like that. And you're just kind of like, you know what? I don't want to see that on my timeline ever. What you can do is you can create your own moderation list and basically ha- uh, so what you'll do is you'll create a list and you'll name it. And then you'll add all of those people in the list that you don't want to see. You'll just kind of go through and search, what accounts you don't want to see, include them in there, and then you can mute them or block them. So the difference, what you should know about muting and blocking is something that is like public. The other person will know that you block them because they won't be able to access you or your content at all on Blue Sky. And then muting, only you will know. So that's more of a private thing. You will know that you've muted them and you won't see their content, but they will be able to interact with your content still. Corley, do you have anything to add to that or did I get that?
No, I think you did great.
Okay, cool. Um, and then can I yeah, so I covered that. And then, so if you have any, issues that you want to report for like violations, here is Blue Sky's uh, email, their support email. And then, if you're, of course, being trolled or, anything like that, let the appropriate authorities know.
Right. And I'll just add to that, if you're managing an account for the Graduate Center and being harassed online in any way, you should let your let your supervisor know. It depends on the situation. It's hard to talk in generalities, but the head of security here, John Flaherty, has gotten involved in certain situations. And you can always let us know in the communications office too. It's it's difficult because, you know, we can't stop people from doing inappropriate things on these platforms, but there is some guidance and best practices that we can share, and we'll try to support you in any way that we can. The good thing is Blue Sky is kind of known as like the nicer, kinder platform so far. So I hope we don't have to deal with this quite so much. Of course, over time, who knows what will happen, but it is like a kinder place so far. Oh, I think you got to mute
Sorry, I
some.
was muted.
Sorry.
Am I unmuted now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, okay. And then here you can just scan this and, tell us your handle. You'll be taken to a form where you can share your information with us.
Yeah, we'd love to know, like, if you've just started an account, maybe before this training, or if you start one afterwards, if you could please let us know. We'd love to follow you. Um, and if you're running an account for a department, a center, an institute, or any GC entity, I want to add you to the starter pack so that others can easily find you. Um, and and just support you in any way that we can. The On that handout is also like a social media request form. So if there's ever a time when you want us to like repost your posts, you can fill out that form, and I will do it. If you tag the GC in your post, I like on Blue Sky, I definitely see that and will automatically repost your post. But if for any reason I missed it, then, just fill out that form. And just so you know, if you ever want the school to be posting something on any of our platforms, like maybe you don't have a LinkedIn account, but you would like us to post something on LinkedIn, you can use that social media request form to do that. And I'll just post it. So that's again why, like, if you are running social media accounts for your department, we'll use the history department again as an example, and you don't have, say, an Instagram account because you just don't have the kind of content for that. But occasionally you want something posted to Instagram, you just fill out that form and give it to me, and I will do it. Okay.